Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu delivered a forceful speech at the UN General Assembly, framing Israel's recent military actions as both a fight for national survival and part of a global struggle against terrorism and extremism. Netanyahu began by revisiting the threats he had outlined the previous year, particularly Iran's terror axis. He described how Tehran's nuclear ambitions, its ballistic missile program, and its support for proxies in Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen endangered not only Israel but also the stability of the entire world. Reviewing the past year's events, Netanyahu declared that Israel had dismantled much of this axis. The Houthis in Yemen were heavily struck, Hamas's infrastructure in Gaza was crushed, Hezbollah's leadership and arsenal severely degraded, Assad's forces in Syria destroyed, and Shiite militias in Iraq deterred. Most significantly, he announced that Israel, together with U.S. forces, had devastated Iran's nuclear and missile capabilities during a 12-day conflict he called Operation Rising Lion. Netanyahu credited U.S. President Donald Trump for decisive action in this campaign, claiming that together they had removed an existential threat to Israel and a mortal danger to the civilized world. Turning to October 7, 2024, the Hamas attack he repeatedly described as the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust, Netanyahu recounted the atrocities, mass killings, rapes, and hostage-taking. He listed by name the 20 hostages still believed to be alive in Gaza, vowing never to abandon them. In an unprecedented move, he said his words were being transmitted via loudspeakers around Gaza and streamed to residents' phones. He called directly to Hamas, "Let my people go. Free the hostages now. If you do, you will live. If you don't, Israel will hunt you down." Netanyahu argued that Israel's war in Gaza could end immediately if Hamas surrendered, Gaza was demilitarized, and a civilian authority committed to peace was established. He insisted that Israel's actions were not only self-defense but also a service to the wider world, since groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Iran chant "Death to America" as readily as "Death to Israel." Using a pop quiz format, he asked the assembly who murders Americans and Europeans, and who threatens the West with terror. His answer, all the above: Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, Al-Qaeda, and others. Behind closed doors, Netanyahu claimed, many leaders privately thank Israel for saving lives with intelligence operations, even if they publicly condemn it. He quoted Germany's chancellor admitting, "Israel is doing the dirty work for all of us." The prime minister sharply criticized nations that, in his view, abandoned Israel once the war in Gaza intensified. He condemned embargoes, legal challenges, and accusations of genocide as hypocritical, insisting that Israel has allowed millions of tons of humanitarian aid into Gaza while being falsely accused of starving civilians. He argued that those who condemn Israel while ignoring Islamist terror are guilty of appeasement and weakness. You can't appease your way out of jihad. On the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Netanyahu rejected the premise of a two-state solution under current conditions, asserting that Palestinians have repeatedly rejected peace offers because they seek Israel's elimination, not coexistence. He pointed to Gaza as evidence, saying it was effectively a Palestinian state that Hamas turned into a terror base. Despite the grim tone, Netanyahu expressed optimism about the future of the Middle East. He highlighted encouraging remarks by Indonesia's president as a sign that cooperation with Israel could expand in the Muslim world. He envisioned that brave peacemakers would replace today's extremists and that Iranians themselves would one day overthrow their rulers, restore freedom, and make Iran great again, reviving historic friendship with Israel. Netanyahu concluded with historical reflection. The massacre of October 7, he said, recalled centuries when Jewish blood was cheap and Jews were killed with impunity. But unlike in the past, Israel now has the strength to defend itself. He declared that Israel would finish its mission against Hamas and prevent such atrocities from ever occurring again.